Hi guys, so today I'm going to give you a bit of my approach to recording choirs and vocals in general. I'm saying try because passing on knowledge usually requires a substantial amount of understanding of the subject, which I don't. So don't expect me to fully dive in chord superstructures and crazy harmony content because firstly, I'm not Jacob Collier, and secondly, my approach to that is much more about intuition than technicality, I guess. So disclaimer to keep in mind, I don't know what I'm doing. What I can tell you though is that usually when it comes to vocals, I don't think about harmony in a vertical way, like this chord and then this chord. That's not the way I like to think, and actually I think it's not a good way to think about choirs. Bach, of course, did it first and is still the king at that, but choirs, string section and brass ensemble sound the best in my opinion when thought and written horizontally, like a fugue or a counterpoint. So a thing that I do try to pay attention to is my voice leading. And I quickly came to realize that with voices, especially more than any other instrument, you can, again, really get away with pretty much any note and harmony you want. As an example of that, I have here a track I made in 2015 for Audio. I think it was to demonstrate their Insolence library, which is a vocal library, amazing. Here is, for example, the ending chord progression. It's on piano right now, but the original is, of course, on vocals and choirs. And I have a pedal of C here that I keep during all the ending chord progression, and it sounds like this on piano. And of course, resolving on a F major. And for now, it's just a big mess. It's super dissonant and not very pleasant. But on vocals, it's very different. So the same C pedal. So yeah, even the biggest dissonance, like on piano, that didn't make sense, like this, on vocals, it definitely makes more sense. So yeah, I really like this power in vocals. Another example in Take Your Time, the second track of this album. At some point at the end of the track, on the vocals, there's this cool line that I like. So there's three basic voices. So the first line, the first voice is a G, playing a G on all the chords. And then there's another line going up chromatically and another line going down chromatically. So you have the second line and the third line, basically. And at the same time you have there is a fourth line, which is the bass, basically doing. So yeah, a 4-part harmony right now, and at the end the voicing is pretty large, and there are a lot of gaps that can be filled with other lines maybe, but basically a 4-part harmony. And so yeah, let's try recording that. We're now in Take Your Time, in the Take Your Time session. I just added a few audio tracks for my vocals. So first line, second line, third and fourth. Let's record the first line, which is just a G. So I'm just going to sing a G for a few bars. Then the second one. The descending one. Okay, we have our main 3 voices, and now I'm just recording the bass part. And here is quickly how it sounds. So that is just an example with a 4-part harmony, but on 4 different tracks. Usually what I would do at that point is overdubbing multiple times certain notes and of course fill the gap. For example, in the original track, here is, for example, what Carla sang at this point. Not exactly the same, but you get the idea. And same section, I have a few more vocals. Well, as you can see, I did fill the gap with this one. Now with the actual bass. I guess there are sax, it's not vocals, but it's the same principle, a few lines going up and down. Okay, so that was an example of the things I like to do with vocals. Here in this section, I have plenty of vocals again. For panning and overdub and mixing, honestly, there are, again, no rules. It's really an artistic choice. Sometimes I want my voices to be as dry as possible. Sometimes super wet, sometimes kind of vintage sounding, super large and glorious, and basically depending on the context and the actual room you have already in your mix. If you have more than 200 track, it's not the brightest idea to add again 50 more vocal tracks, except of course if you're Jacob Collier and you manage to make this whole mess work. But more likely you will end up with very conflictual things in terms of frequencies. So on Chromatic Curtain, for example, the harmony is already pretty strange, so I basically took it and filled the gaps. I don't really care if I added a 9th or 11th, 13th. I just recorded what I wanted to hear at that moment. Sometimes it's not a lot, sometimes it's basically filling the whole scale and ending up with basically the whole scale in a tight voicing. So yeah, just following the basic harmony, that's what I did. There is Carla singing again here. this sounds already pretty filled, and well, I basically filled what I could again. So the harmony of Chromatic Curtain is already pretty strange by itself. I already demonstrated that in another video. But here, even though there are about 50 tracks just for vocals, I really only thought about the main melody, which usually is the highest. So we have like... That's what Carla is basically singing. And with the context... So yeah, there might be other section in this track that might be of interest.
If only colors could teach us how to preserve our own tired soul.
Here, the pretty cool thing, I guess, is the main theme of this album, which in the tonality of this track would sound like this. But with the harmony. This is basically the limit also of my approach, because in order to really choose which notes to accentuate, overdub and double and harmonize, and where to distribute the tension in the chord without overdoing it, it requires you to actually know what you are doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so production-wise, sometimes I want to record super close to the mic to, you know, have a very clear and precise sound. Sometimes I use an omnidirectional mic to get more of the room, you know, from a distance, to get more in the room sound, and that's probably better suited for choirs. I also like to use a stereo microphone to get more ambience and natural spatialization and placement in the mix. And if I use a stereo microphone, what I like to do also is to record my vocals and my choirs from different spots in my room, and kind of trying to imitate the real placement of a quartet or a quintet, for example. As an example of that, I have here the Danse Macabre session. Here, for example, I think it's the second verse. The main vocals are recorded by Carla, mainly Carla on this one, on mono tracks and centered, and it sounds like this.
Zig zig zac, chacun se trémousse, on entend claquer les os des danseurs. Un couple lascif s'assoit sur la mousse, comme pour goûter, t'enseigne douce.
So, for example, here I recorded the same thing, but with a stereo microphone, and we've recorded that 4 times. So the microphone, which was this one, it's a Rode NT4 stereo microphone, was placed here and didn't move. And I was singing on the right and Carla on the left, and we switched at some point, and
Zig zig zac, chacun se trémousse, on entend claquer les os des danseurs. Un couple lascif s'assoit sur la mousse, comme pour goûter d'anciennes douceurs. Zig zig zac, la mort continue de racler sans fin son aigre instrument. Un voile est tombé, la danseuse est nue, son danseur la serre amoureusement. La dame est, dit-on, une marquise ou une baronne.
So yeah, that really helps emulate multiple voices and the placement of a real choir, of a real gang vocal. So yeah, I guess that's it. I don't know if I really got into details, because really I'm definitely not satisfied with my voice, especially as a lead singer, even though I will have to sing live those tracks in the future. Yeah, I'm still not satisfied with my voice, but I really love to do vocals, and I think it's just because it's the same way every time when I'm writing melodies and harmony. It always comes first from my intuition and what I want to hear, what I want to sing, what I can sing. And I almost never go through harmony and music theory first. Not first, not even second. Usually, and sometimes I don't even think about that, even if the track is already done. I only think about harmony and actual music notation and music theory only when I have to do videos like this, or if I have to write down some sheet music and partitions. But usually I don't even need it, and that's why it's probably hard to get into details. But anyway, if you have any questions about this, so feel free to ask in the comment and I will reply. I might do a Q&A after the album is released also. So yeah, stay tuned guys for more. Hope you like this one and see you tomorrow.